Hi everyone, this is Mazina Rafi. I'm the host today for this guest speaker series, and we have Mehul Pandya. He's our guest today. And Mehul Pandya will share his professional journey in Canada with you. So I hope everybody is fine, everybody is good. So if you have any questions, we will take it. Mehul will take during the session. So what you can do, you can write it down, okay? So we'll go through the logistics and housekeeping. So I'm just waiting for one or two. I see there are 7 participants now. Waiting for more because they are 20 people who registered. So hopefully they will be joining us soon. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending the session today, and thank you, Mehul. So now we'll start our presentation.
Yeah.
Mehul will go through it in detail. So everybody is listen only mode, but that doesn't stop you to write your questions. So if you check at the bottom of your screen, you will see QA icon. So you can write your questions in it, and you can do chat also. If you have anything to share, you can chat also. Let me know if there's any interruption, if you can't hear, because we are dealing with the technology and we come across sometimes different technical issues as well. So your questions will be answered as they come. And if you're using laptop or desktop, that's fine. If you're using a phone, make sure that you are put it on silent. And after the session, we'll be looking for your feedback. So you can send your feedback to me, Mazina, and you have my email. So thank you so much. Yeah. So a little bit about Access Employment. So Access Employment is a services organization, employment services organization. We are funded by the government at all 3 different levels. Our mission is to help assist every job seeker who enters our door or who comes with any hopes of getting assistance for their job. We have served 34,000, in fact, more than 34,000 job seekers last year. We have over 2,200 employer connections. They come through different programs. We have 30 plus tailored programs. Tailored program means customized program, sector-specific programs. So we have bridging programs. We have women-related program. We have program for youth. We have program for people who are laid off or returning to job market. And we have 7 locations in the GTA. Our main head office is in Toronto. We have on the eastern side, we have Scarborough, we have North York, Newmarket, Markham, and in the west, we have Mississauga and Brampton. And on top of that, we have online services. So anybody who is planning to come to Canada or preparing to come to Canada, we have consultant on one-on-one basis. They just have to register online. So this was about Access Employment. Yeah, can we go to next? Okay, so now the presentation is over to Mehul. Mehul is going to share his wonderful journey in Canada, how he came as an immigrant and what resources were available at that time. What were some of the job search strategies he used to get into his sector or industry? Right now, he is a senior HR professional and he specializes in organizational development as well. So over to you, Mehul. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on this discussion, Mazina, and it's a pleasure to connect with all of you. So hello everyone, it's good afternoon to you. It's still morning for me. I'm in Central Time Zone, and please let me know if I'm going too fast, too slow, or you want me to pause somewhere. So yeah. Essentially, the theme of this discussion is around job search strategies, but it's a wider subject. I'm trying to just put in my experience and how I managed to work this out. So I can completely relate. I was in the same boat that you guys are maybe 3 years back. So little bit of my background. So I'm an internationally experienced HR professional with more than 18 years of experience. I landed in Canada in July 2017. So like most of the immigrants, I landed in Toronto. I was there for 8 months. During that 8 months, I had an opportunity to meet a lot of people, build good connections, and attend a bridging program with Access Employment. Uh, and in 2018 March, I landed a job in Saskatoon, so I moved to Saskatoon. So I had moved long distance from my home country, so Saskatoon is nowhere compared to that distance. So it makes all sense for me to move. So yeah, for past 2.5 years, I am in Saskatoon, and I am working as an organizational design specialist. So it's a little bit of my background, and what I'm trying to do in this next 35 to 40 minutes is about the basic job search strategy, some tips on resumes and cover letter, networking, and few other stuff. And if at all I have not covered anything, please feel free to ask in the questions. So I'll be happy to answer. So before we move on to the basics of job search, some things that you need to know as a new immigrant. I'm sure all of you have different situations. Some of you are here for a longer time. Maybe some of you are here for last few months, maybe less than a year, maybe less than a month. I don't know, but I'm sure everyone is exploring some opportunities to settle in Canada, trying to explore new jobs. Again, some of you might have worked somewhere in Canada. This is probably your transition time. You are looking for exploring new opportunities, or you are just trying to get your first break. So we'll be taking all this through in logical sequence. First thing first, when we moved to Canada, I'm sure we all would have done our research well. So things to do in first month, or I would say even first week, is all around you're getting your SIN number, driving license, child benefit applications, opening your bank account, health card, credit history. Um, if you have any questions around this, ping me separately, because I don't want to cover this as a part of job search strategy, but this is more of a settlement strategy in Canada. Don't delay on the license part, because a lot of time I've seen newcomers feel that we don't have vehicles, so why we rush for license. But it's all important because you start your driving history from the date you get your license. So even if you are not driving, you don't have a car, please don't hesitate to get your license. Get your license for yourself, your spouse. So that's very basic thing which I saw a lot of immigrants missing on this. Secondly, it's all about bringing the right mindset. uh, most of you would have come as a skilled immigrant to our province nominee program. So there are a lot of assessment has been done around your skills, your capabilities, and then you got the opportunity to move to Canada. I'm sure you would have done a lot of research. So this is all about taking that big risk. I know when back in my country, I was doing good. I was like at the peak of my career, and only reason I moved to Canada is better quality of life and probably hoping for a better future for my kids. I'm sure all of you have different motives, but be positive. This is the right mindset. Be prepared to face the first generation of immigrant struggles. And you know that first generation immigrants will always have some struggles in the set. It's not only about professional transition, but it's also a great personal transition. So, like for example, I come from plus 50 to minus 50. Where I am in Saskatchewan, there are like fields like temperature goes to minus 46, minus 50. So it's a great transition for me and my family. Secondly, somebody told me the immigrants are not immigrants, they are dream immigrants. So I like this word and phrase. This is like dream immigrants. We all have come here with the hope of better future. So it's all about keeping that positive mind. uh, so one more thing, take good care of your family. And I can relate to this because I waited for 8 months to get my first break in Canada. Job search is a stressful process. A lot of time you tend to displace your anger or frustration on your family, kids, but just be more careful about this. This is a difficult phase for everyone, including your family. So take good care of family, take regular breaks, maybe on weekends. Because I have seen, if I were to customize my resume and apply for jobs, at the most I can do like 3, or maximum if I stretch for 12 hours a day, maybe 4 jobs in a day. not more than that. Again, surround yourself with positive people. So when I came to Canada, I had like mixed bag of people surrounded me. There were some folks, oh, why did you come here? You were doing good in India, back in country. So what was the need for coming to this cold place? And there were some people, okay, that's a good decision. You have made good decision for quality of life, future for kids. Fortunately, I was more inclined to talk with positive people. A lot of people will also push you immediately, oh, without wasting time, get on your survival jobs. You need to get some income, everything, all sorts of advice you will get. But I'll suggest filter those negativity and just be in touch with positive people. And last, this is my personal advice, don't rush for survival jobs. So when I say survival jobs, it's like jobs which are not specific to your profession, like for example Walmart or Loblaws or those kind of material handler jobs or Amazon warehouse. And in no way I am saying these jobs are not important. I am not demeaning these jobs, but it's all about your personal preference. Because when I moved to Canada, I knew that I had brought certain fund with me which could last me for certain months based on all my financial workings. And I had my strategy in place, like for how many months I can go without job, how many months I can survive without any income, and when is the time where I need to do something about finances. So uh, the only disadvantage I see with the survival job is if you are working in a survival job during the daytime, you tend to miss a lot of calls and opportunity to network with people in your own field. So uh, some people ask me, okay, can we take night shift? Well, it's your choice, but my my only suggestion is take your time before you make a decision. uh, a lot of people will advise you to rush into job immediately because a lot of time we convert the international currencies into Canadian dollars, and I was like surprised when I had like bus fare of $4 for any journey as compared to my currency. It's like, oh, $4. But yeah, I mean, these are some of the tips. So this is all about your basics, getting organized for job search. If you have any questions, just drop in this question answer session. We'll come back to it. Okay, so this is about having a job search strategy. So uh, when I was hunting for job, when I landed in Canada, I'll be honest, like first couple of months I spent on settling my family. We landed in July, so by September 1st, we had our own apartment rented out. So I would say technically I started my job search from September onwards. Uh, Once I had an apartment and once I had a good understanding of my monthly expenses, I had a better understanding like how much fund I have against how much expenses I have and how many months I can survive. So this is just an example, but for first 3 months I focused on my profession. So I'm an HR professional, so I was looking for HR related positions, managerial roles which are mm, somewhere suiting my experiences. So I was looking for manager or business partner roles in GTA because I was in Brampton. For 3 months, I had the strategy that I'll apply only for relevant jobs or relevant roles. For 5 months, I mean, after 3 months, up to 5 months, I had a strategy that maybe I'll be flexible on the levels of roles. So I'll go beyond manager and business partner roles. So I'll also be exploring coordinator kind of role or support HR roles in Ontario or Quebec, which is like nearby provinces. So I expanded the level of my jobs and also the geography. And within 9 months, I had an understanding. Okay, if I don't get anything in like first 5 to 6 months, by 9 months, maybe I'll have to start doing all jobs, including the survival jobs. So again, this is different for every person, but have some strategy in place, like how much time do you want to give to yourself to get a job in your own field, what kind of flexibility you have in types of levels in your own field, and then if you want to expand geography. As you can see, I had to expand my geography, and finally I landed a role of my choice in central Canada. They call this western, but technically we are in central Canada, and it worked for me. So I'm sure you should have this kind of strategy in place. Also consider some of your transferable skills. So if I were to give an example, I am an HR professional, but I bring good transferable skills in strategy, analytics, Word, Excel, PowerPoints, basic research capabilities. If you are finding any other jobs which is matching this transferable skills, you can take a shot. And this is anyways better than the survival jobs. Again, in no way I'm saying survival jobs are not important. They are not. They are demeaning, but it's all about trying to as close as possible to your own profession, whether it's finance, HR, engineering. But I can relate more to HR because I'm in HR. Again, based on your personal and financial circumstances, make your plan. So just to share with you, when I landed in July, by December, I was like almost exhausting my finance, and I knew like from 1st of January, I'll have to start any job, which includes the survival job. But fortunately, just by the end of the December, we got our child benefit payments for 5-6 months, and we had sudden inflow of funds. And then I decided to wait for a couple of more months just because we had this additional fund. And again, one more thing I realized that there is never a bad time. So people think that, okay, it's a summer, it's a holiday time, Christmas, it's a year end, a lot of people are on vacation. So this is the time where recruitment is not happening. I don't think so. That's correct statement. Recruitment can happen anytime. So just to give you an example, I had like 2 interviews between 27th of December to 1st of January. It's a crazy, right? Everyone thinks Christmas to New Year time is the break. Nobody's there in office. I had 2 interviews and they were both relevant interviews. So never let your guards down. Third, explore help and resources available from provincial federal government. So there are a lot of financial support available, bursary, some education support. I don't remember the name, but do your research. If at all you want to reskill yourself or you want to do small course in university or college or degree, check out the financial options. Just an example, when I joined Access Employment's HR Bridging program in October to December, we had this $500 or something like that fees for this program, which was reimbursed through bursary program. So explore all the possible options that you have. Again, if you have any questions, drop in your question answer session. We'll come back to it later on because currently I'm presenting the screen, so I can't see the question answers, but hope you can hear me. Okay, resume and cover letters. So while I'm sure there are a lot of resources available on resumes and cover letter, I'm not really getting into detail about this. You can do a lot of research around this, but some basic facts around resume. So first, it's always resume or profile. There is no word called curriculum vitae. So back in my home country, a lot of people used to, okay, I'll send you my CV, which is curriculum vitae. But here there is no CV. It's always resume or your profile. So just keep this in mind. Maximum 2 page, not more than 2 page. Again, back in my country, the longer your resume, the better it is your qualification for senior level roles. But here it is not like that. Has to be maximum 2 pages. Again, keep 2 or 3 basic versions of your resume ready, which can be customized. So I'll give you an example. If I'm in HR, I would have like one resume, which is business HR. I'll have one resume for learning and development, and I'll have maybe one more resume around talent acquisition or employee engagement. So these are different specializations in HR. I'll have one general profile folder where I'll have 4 of this profile, and as soon as I am trying to apply for similar roles, I will take one of this version and start customizing. Again, it's important to customize your resume every time for each role because as far as possible you would want to include the keywords, and we'll come back to this keywords on this, but please don't fake your resume. So good thing about Canada is a lot of time people will trust what you have mentioned in your resume. I don't think so there is any formal process of verifying your employment. While they do run the personal background check, but this is more about criminal check and address proof and everything, but it's not about your employment check. They do reach out to your last employer or last couple of employers for reference check, but if you like 10 years back, if you write you have done certain things in your resume, I don't think so there is any way to verify it. So but it's not advisable to fake your resume. Again, things that you need to be careful with is, as I mentioned, it's always resume or profile. No, don't use the word curriculum writing. No personal detail to be included in your resume. So again, coming from my experience of my own country, we used to write date of birth, gender, and like your personal address, including your marital status. Uh, these all details are considered as very personal in Canada. It's kind of your private details, and you don't need to mention that in your resume. There are mixed opinions around mentioning the address, but I would say at least mention the name of the city, but you don't need to mention your full address on your resume. So at the most, you can say like Brampton, Mississauga, Scarborough, whatever it is. Or maybe you can also mention your postal code or something like that, but uh, be careful what you mention in your resume. Again, on the education front, so I have done my master's in human resource back in India, which is like graduation plus 2 years, so it's 3+2 model. My WES assessment says it's graduate equivalent in Canada, like 4 years graduate equivalent in Canada, but I still write master's in my resume. Unless I need to mention that this is WES equivalent 4 years graduate, I will not mention this is graduate program. So I'll mention my highest degree that I have back in my country. If they specifically ask me, okay, what is Canadian equivalency, then I'll bring in WS assessment. Otherwise, I'll still go ahead with my master's degree. Again, consider adding a section on your key skills, because sometimes your resume, you have to keep it 2 page, so you can't mention all your skills, but just a one section with different skills, like for example HR strategy, HR transformation, organizational design, talent management. I'll mention 7-8 key skills that I bring in so that it helps me in getting my resume screened. And lastly, tables and pictures and other high level of formatting. I wouldn't recommend that in resume if you are applying online because of ATS system. So there is an application tracking system, and we have a section on it. I'll come back to it, but I'll keep my template very simple. It's mostly text and bullet points. That's it. Now, coming to the cover letter, again, there are a lot of opinions whether people read or recruiters read cover letter or not, but I believe like 80 to 90% roles or applications would require to submit a cover letter. So be careful with your cover letter. Again, get a couple of drafts ready, and for every different application, you need to customize your cover letter. Couple of important things. Your cover letter and resume should give different information. So your cover letter should not be a summary of your resume, but rather it should focus on like why you are a good or better suited candidate for the particular role that you are applying for. So again, we have a section. I'll show you some graphics like how can we focus on cover letter and what should be the focus of resume. Understand the common titles and designations used in your profession. So for example, if I am in human resources, the title here are very different. So for example, analyst is the kind of junior most role, which are like fresh graduates. They join us the analyst level. Then they will move on to coordinator level or maybe any support roles. And then there are business advisors or HR advisors. There are specialist roles which are equivalent to advisors, and then there are managers, senior managers, directors, and vice president or AVPs. So understand the hierarchy in your profession. I'm sure it could be different for finance, it could be different for engineering folks, but uh, understand the role and seniority that you are trying to apply. That will help you customize your resume. Lastly, research the organization well. Lot of research available around a particular organization. So Glassdoor, for example, gives you an review of organization, its culture, some interview questions and guidelines. So for example, if you are applying for Walmart or if you're applying for Loblaws, what kind of culture they have, what are the standard interview questions. So do your research well before you apply for different roles. This is a quick overview of resume and cover letter. Now,
Mehul, before we
oh,
proceed
yeah,
to the next slide,
yeah,
one of the participant has a question,
yeah,
and
sure.
it seems very relevant, which you just said. So the question is, I'm flexible for lower level jobs in the same field. which I am in, and that is quality assurance. But with the current situation, every company asks for so much more in those levels. And also with more experience, companies find me to be overqualified with those low level roles.
Okay.
How to deal with that?
Yeah.
Can
So
you provide
yeah.
ways to get interviews for that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is an interesting question, and I have a slide on this. So I'll just pause on this for a while, and once we come to that slide, maybe I'll get into more details if
Okay.
that's fine. Yeah. Thanks, Mazina. Okay, so this is an example of resume and cover letter. So what I've done is I've just taken one random job opening in Saskatoon. So this is like an opening for general manager, Saskatoon North Hyundai. So this is an automobile dealer. Now on the left side, you can see this is the job description. So what this role is expected to do. It's a text. Sometimes you will have text, sometimes you will have some bullet points, but this is the description. On the right side, if you see, this is the kind of qualification that they are seeking. So what they are seeking, a great attitude will get you 90% there, but the rest we are looking for is then blah, 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 blah. They are saying, okay, you need to have like 10 years of experience, strong financial acumen, openness to relocate to other blah, blah, blah location, so on and so forth. Now, if I were to work my resume for this position, my resume should focus on the left side of the screenshot, which is all about the job description, how I can add value to what you are looking for. And my cover letter should be focusing more on the qualification that they're looking for or the requirement of the role. So maybe I'll try to summarize my cover letter in a way saying, for example, I want to express my interest in so and so role. Uh, I bring in more than 10 years of experience, blah, blah, blah. During my certain jobs, I demonstrated a strong financial acumen and blah, blah, blah. So I'll try to relate why I'm trying to apply in my cover letter. And then my resume should give them more details and examples of how I am better suited for this role. So hope you can understand the difference between resume and cover letters. Cover letter is not simply summarizing, okay, from XYZ time to XYZ time, I work with this industry as so and so position. It's not about that. It's all about selling your resume. And yeah, honestly, I don't know people read cover letter or not. Resume is your most important document, but yeah, cover letter is equally important, and I will invest time in cover letter. So this is the key difference about resume and cover letter. They are not same. Now ATS. ATS is called application tracking software or system. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with this, but this is the kind of software which helps the recruiter to shortlist the right candidate. So just imagine, for example, there is a position in Walmart and there are like 150 application overnight. And if you are expecting the recruiter to read all those 150 applications, it's humanly impossible or impractical. So this software helps them screen the right resume, and then they give a kind of short list. So there is a small screenshot that you can see. They will rank the candidate based on their resume, their qualification, their experience, and keyword mapping. So for example, they will say like person one here matches 92% with the job description or the requirement they have. Person two matches 85%, person three matches 83%. So ATS is a basically software that helps the recruiter to do the shortlisting. And for job search, for people like us who are looking for jobs, this is the biggest hurdle that we need to cross. I would say once you cross ATS, your chances are 50% better to get shortlisted for a discussion or interview. But how to get through this? It's all about getting the right word. So the recommendation is to review the job description and use the same language the company is using. Just an example, a lot of time I use my client group as stakeholders or senior leadership. So my company use word SLT, which is senior leadership team. But if the company is using word business leaders in their job description, I have to change this SLT word to business leaders. Sometimes they are asking the word like stakeholders or senior leaders. So I just need to use the same words that they are asking for. So I need to change stakeholders as senior leaders or whatever they are asking for. Again, sometimes there are different ways to project employee attrition. It's either called employee attrition or employee turnover. So if they are asking for employee turnover, I'll use the exact same word as employee turnover rather than saying, okay, employee attrition. Similarly, back in my own country, we used to call it manpower planning, but here they call it workforce planning or staffing. So just be careful of how the different words are being used in your own industry and profession, and make sure you use the same word so that your resume looks more Canadian. Now, understand the key words. So as I said, like there is a job description and there are some keywords which are getting repeated in this job description, and those are the keywords on the basis of which this ATS make the shortlisting. So for example, out of 10 role description that they are asking, 3 mentions leadership capability or 3 mentions like collaboration or teamwork, then these are the themes that you should be looking at in this job description. So you should reflect these keywords in your resume and cover letter. Now there are some free resources and websites available which can help you match your resume and the ATS results. So for example, jobscan.com, and um, you can take a note of this, or I don't know, we can share this during the chat, or the presentation is available later on, but jobscan.com, zipjobs.com and topresume.com. So these sites have some functionality where you can copy and paste the job description, and you can copy and paste your resume, and they will tell you like um, high level compatibility of your resume with that job. So like where do you stand? You stand in like first top 90%, or you are like 50% somewhere, based on purely the keyword assessment. um, so these are some of the resources which you should use. And again, I'll try to focus top 10% of my role. um, Rather, I'll say I'll focus, or I'll spend so much of time only for top 10% of the roles that I'm applying, which are very relevant to my profile and level. I will not do this kind of research for all the roles that I'm applying, but it's only for those roles which I really like and I want to aggressively pursue. So this is all about this. Be careful of applying for more than one role in the same organization. So for example, I am desperate to get a role in HR. So there is a post of HR director, and at the same time, there is a position of HR coordinator. Now you can imagine the one recruiter getting a resume, one for coordinator role and one for director role. So immediate thought is like, okay, I don't think so. This person is clear enough to know like where he fits in or where he wants to focus. So I'm straight away rejected. So just be careful if you are applying for the same role in the same organization. Uh, that does not mean you should not apply. So for example, if there is a director of strategy and director of HR, and if I think I can bring in some transferable skill, I can still apply, but just use your common sense, like where you should do this. Again, one more great resource is around job scan. So ability to compare jobs and resume that I mentioned previously. Um, this is my resume, and I'm not saying I'm great at resume or maybe I'm very expert, but yeah, I've learned a lot of things in last 3 years. So uh, this is how it looks like my resume on the ATS. So if you see, and I'm sorry for the text, but I had to use this screenshot. So on the left, it captures my name, my current employer, my current title, my number and email address. My location is not found because I have not mentioned my location. So again, the trick I have been using is I'm not putting my location on my resume, but I'm just putting my location on my cover letter. Total years of experience, unfortunately, yes, ATS captures your all experiences. So it's 18 years of experience. Most recent education not found. I'm not sure why, but I have mentioned my uh, education in my resume, and this is my management score. So probably it says like out of 100%, I'm somewhere close to 55%. Again, from the ATS perspective, my resume says like I'm 81% more into human resources, 4% in finance, and 50% other professional industries. So I don't want to debate like how this has come, but this is just an example that I had. And lastly, there is sorry. Oh, okay, this last screenshot here, the third one, it says like, okay, what are my key skills based on my resume and keywords? It's HR transformation, integration, integrator, post merger. Other core competencies include solution, talent management, workforce planning, HR business partner, and blah 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 blah. So not getting into it, but this is how it looks like from a recruiter's eye. This is how your resume should look like. Sorry, not should look like, but this is how my resume is looking like. Topresume.com, again, it's a free resource, so you can try with some of your jobs that you are pursuing to put your jobs description and put your resume. It will give you some mapping score. Now, also there are some other sources which helps you find the keywords. So for example, this worditout.com. Now this is meant for different purpose, but I've been using this for copying paste. So in this blank original text box, you can copy and paste the job description, and based on that, it will give you kind of word art, which says the bigger the size of that word is, how many times that word is being used. So if you remember again the same job description that I had used, like GM for Saskatoon, like automobile company, I pasted that job description in here, and it shows me like some of the major words that they have been using is like F1. Now F1 is the name of the company, so no worries. But look at the other words like targeted, the work, business, after, sales, best, team, developing. So the more number of times these words are used, the bigger the size is. Again, the employee. So it gives me some idea about some of the keywords that they have been using in the job description, and accordingly, I want to focus on those words in my resume and cover letter. This is not the perfect method, but it's an easier method to give some rest to your eyes. So again, worditout.com. You can try some uh, job description, copy and paste there, and we'll figure it out. I'll just pause. Mazina, any questions that I need to answer? Am I going too fast, too slow? Just keeping track of time. Yeah.
Yes, I have one more question here,
Mhm.
and that is currently LinkedIn is on the hype.
Hmm.
Everyone is seeking candidate profiles there. So, how to apply for a business analyst role when your LinkedIn profile has QA position as your past experience?
Mhm. Okay. I'll park it and we'll come back to this question.
Mhm.
QA versus BA. Okay. Huh. So this is the role flexibility, and this is, I guess, the question we had, like, if I want to apply for different levels in the same profession and how I can do it. So uh, I can understand the dilemma because I had gone through the same position. So for example, when I landed in Canada, I had like 16, 15 years of experience, and I thought like I have the background. So I worked with consulting firms like Deloitte, PwC, and EY, and I thought these are the global brands, and it will be this easy for me to at least get an interview. But no, I was wrong. And I also had the same understanding that the more experience I have, better suited I am for the role. But if you were to look from the employer's perspective, it's a risk for them. So if they are looking for a junior role like 3 to 5 years of experience, and you are applying with 50 years of experience resume, no, it doesn't fit their requirement first because it's a mismatch, and secondly, they always have this fear that the moment you get a better job, you will move out of this role. So they will have to invest again in the hiring process. So they want to make sure that they get the right candidate, or at least close to that requirement. So we all should have flexibility in the levels that we are offering. So as I said, like first 3 months, I tried to look for the same manager level roles, did not work out, so I was open for some junior roles like coordinators or analysts. So how we can do it? So there are ways to do it. First, never ever mention that you are willing to take any role. So I've seen a lot of cover letter which says I'm looking for opportunity in HR and I'm willing to take any role. No. So don't make them feel that we are desperate or we are begging for the role. No, we need to deserve a role, and how we can do it, there are different ways to do it. You can mention that you are flexible with the levels and roles and accountabilities. Capitalize on transferable skills, and last thing I'm reading out first is always customize your resume and cover letter with a different sentence. So for example, I bring in 18 years of experience, but if I'm applying for a role of 5 years experience, I'll write I bring in more than 5 years of relevant experience instead of saying 15 years of experience. In this way, I am not faking, but I am still trying to be more relevant. We can customize this, so it's either more than 5 years, more than 10 years, or more than 8 years. But in this way, I am trying to customize my resume and cover letter. Again, cover letter has to focus on the kind of role requirement that you have. So if I am trying to apply for coordinator level role, I will remove some of the action verbs that I have used in my resume. So like for example, a lot of time I have led this, I have managed this. Instead, I'll use I have supported this, I was part of the team, I demonstrated teamwork abilities. Whereas for the senior roles, I would write I demonstrated leadership, team leadership, or something like that. So every role you need to customize, and you have to reflect the same thing that they are asking. The more junior roles, more support that you need to show, more team player you need to show. I think communication and some of the other softer aspects will remain the same, but um, some of the action verbs you can customize. So like support versus leading, manage versus creating, and something like that. So that's the trick about how you demonstrate your flexibility. And again, sometimes in the discussion this comes up. So okay, you have mentioned more than 5 years, you have customized your resume, and you are now shortlisted for the interview. And during the interview, they ask you this question: okay, we think you have 15 years of experience, but I am looking for only 5 years of experience. So why we should hire you? And that's where you should talk more about your transferable skills. So it's not only about the experience that you bring in, but you also bring in those qualifications you have grown from system, from junior roles to senior roles. But at the same time, uh, you can become a team leader, but you still have to work with teams. So how best you can relate this to their current requirement is the key. So this is what I've learned, and I'm not sure this is the perfect way. Sometimes they figure out, no, maybe you are too overqualified for this kind of role. That's fine. Unfortunately, we can't say that, okay, no, I haven't worked for 15 years, but I worked only for 5 years. Uh, Sometimes you can just eliminate some of the irrelevant work experience. I've seen this strategy working. So, for example, I can show some experience only from 2009 onwards, or maybe 2010 onwards. But they will definitely see that I did my master's in 2001, and if I'm showing only my experience of 2010 onwards, there should be a question around like, okay, what did you do from 2001 to 2010? And as long as you are ready to answer that question, you should be good enough to go. But yeah, typically their focus would be only in last 2 or 3 jobs, and probably not all the jobs. So that's a way of answering the question we had around applying for junior roles and being flexible. uh, Again, when you apply for jobs, some quick statistics. So 60 to 70% of the jobs are filled through networking, and they are never published. So what you see here on the open source or LinkedIn or Indeed or Monster or whatever job sources, these are only the 30 to 40% of the jobs which are posted publicly. So uh, just imagine like what kind of competition you are having, or what kind of universe you are sailing in. Secondly, prioritize your job preference, and spend more time on the job which are more relevant to your requirement. As I was saying, all those uh, keyword mapping and customizing your resume, and maximum time should be focused on some of the roles which you want to aggressively pursue. And also keep an Excel sheet with tracking all the application, job description, resume, and cover letters. So why I'm saying this is from my experience. Um I had applied for some roles in like 2017, and so as you know, like I landed in 2017. So between March 2018 to 2017, I would have applied for like hundreds of roles, and I got rejections as later as like 2019 November, saying, "Oh, unfortunately, we can't proceed with your application," and I wouldn't even remember that I had applied for this role. So if something comes up after 2 3 months, you need to have certain documents ready, for example job description. So after 2 months you will struggle to find that job description. Okay, for which role I applied for, how do I prepare for interview? So better have a PDF of this job description somewhere. When did you apply? Preferably you should create a folder for each position that you apply and put a cover letter and resume there along with the job description so that you can refer that in future. You can save them for like 1 year 2 year depending on your requirement, but yeah, keep track of what you are doing, what you are applying. Try to reach out to job posters with your interest network connections. So sometimes you can see who has posted job in LinkedIn. Try to research, go to that person's profile. No harm in trying to reach out to the person that I see an interesting opportunity and I want to pursue this opportunity, so can I connect for some more information. Please do not directly ask for jobs. You can try to network, but don't ask for jobs. Okay, so this is the clear difference. If you say, okay, I'm trying to apply for this role and I want to get this job, so please accept me in my connection request. No, that will not happen. But politely ask for more information and hopefully they will connect. Always write a thank you note. So even if you have some discussion or conversation with any of your connection about some opening, potential opening, always write a thanks note. And again, there are different types of jobs. So contracts, term, permanent. Believe me, friends, from my experience, employer does not judge you based on your past contract, term, or permanent employment opportunities. It's all about what you have done in those roles. So sometimes I've seen some resume where people mention, okay, I was working from blah 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 to blah 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 period on a contract basis. I don't think so. You need to mention contract basis. It's only about the name of company, what you did, and the tenure of your job. Um, it's about surviving the job as well. So some of the things are very important because it's not only about getting your first job, but it's also surviving in the job culture and the Canadian work culture. So some of the important things is, for example, using word hello. Uh, it's a tradition when you are in Canada, if you don't know the person and if you are approaching that person through email or written communication, you always write hello and not hi. So for example, hello Mehul Pandya. Hello, first name, last name, not hi Mehul. My first conversation, hi Mehul, it's fine. Once I have like couple of conversation and discussion, once I'm comfortable with the other person, that person can say hi Mehul, first name, that's acceptable. And these are just some of the cultural uh, norms. I'm not saying if you call somebody hi Mehul and you will have an adverse impact, no, but this is the kind of trend and this is how people start judging you if you know about Canadian culture, if you don't know about Canadian culture. Again, every Friday evening at the work, there is a discussion about what are your weekend plans. So be ready to speak about your weekend plans. And once you are back on Monday, how was your weekend? So again, speak about your weekend. How was your weekend? What did you do on your weekend? Again, another some of the favorite subjects are weather, sports. So try to get some more information about those subjects so that you can have good conversation with your team. uh, Lastly, don't be surprised if you don't hear from them for months. So don't expect that they will respond to you in 1 month 2 months. So as I was saying, like somebody responded me even after 1.5 years. So it's their own process, but we don't need to wait for them. But yeah, don't be surprised if they reach out to you after 3 months. You, okay, you had applied sometime in May, now we want to have a discussion. Let's see. uh, Again, I'll pause. Mazina, any questions you have? Am I going too fast? Okay, I just have like one last slide, I guess. So get creative with your approach. Again, I wouldn't suggest using immigrant word a lot of times unless you absolutely require to use word immigrant. Never play your newcomer cards. You can still mention you are an internationally experienced professional rather than saying you are newcomer or new immigrant. And if you absolutely have to speak about it, say you are new Canadian. That's a better way rather than saying new immigrants. And I'm not saying people are like differentiating between immigrants and other stuff, but this is just a better way of putting things.
Mehul, we have a couple of questions. Do you want
Okay,
to take it now or later?
I can take it now because I realize it's 11:50 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a question talking about role. The first question, previous question, currently LinkedIn is on the hype. Everyone is seeking candidate profiles there. So how to apply for any role, okay, when your LinkedIn profile has a different position as your past experience.
Yeah.
So this is one question. Other question is talking about role flexibility. Is it all right to say that since I'm new to Canada, a step down will help me to learn more about the local system, culture, and about your organization?
Yeah. So first, I'll answer the second question first. While the approach is right, I wouldn't use word I am willing to step down. Rather, I'll say I'm flexible in order to learn new things and understand more about the Canadian way of learning, culture, or whatever you want to say. It's just putting things in a positive way rather than saying, okay, I'm willing to compromise. So I guess we discussed this. So it's fine to show your flexibility, but in a positive way. Second question we had around LinkedIn profile, and I would say, yeah, this is a tricky question, but you should have your LinkedIn profile where your majority of focus is. So for example, if you are trying to apply 10 roles in QA on only one role on BA, does it make sense to change your LinkedIn profile for one BA role? When people ask you about specifically while your LinkedIn says QA and you are applying for BA roles, so you can always emphasize on your transferable skill. But I guess LinkedIn should be a more generic or more specialized to your key interest area. So probably that's the quick answer to what the question is.
Okay, we have two more questions. So one is why you should not put your location in the resume or cover letter?
I would say you can put your city and you can put your postal code, which is giving a vague understanding. For example, I can write Brampton, I can write Mississauga, but I don't want to put my personal address in my location. Sometimes employer wants to know like what would be your commute time and how you will be able to manage those locations or travel time. But yeah, I think my personal address is very confidential. Unless I wouldn't share my personal address, SIN number and phone number with everyone unless I have to share with them with my employer or some other agencies. So I can still put my location. I'm not against that, but I'll still highly recommend that don't put your full address. You can just put city name there.
Okay, last question. Is it possible to get a job in IT in Canada without any Canadian professional experience or certification?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess IT folks are pretty much in demand. So yeah, I while they will always look for Canadian experience, but I think there are few fields, including IT and some like, for example, purchase and real estate and general labor. These are the kind of areas where they don't look for specific Canadian experience. And then this could be true for any professions. Like I've seen people getting job in like second week of landing, and I've seen like people struggling after 2 years to get the job in their own field. So everyone has a different timing, but yeah, IT folks have better prospects, but it's different for everyone. You just need to be at the right time in right place. Okay, and I'll quick, yeah.
So it's up to you how you want to.
Yeah, I'll quickly take you through this slide in one or 2 minutes, and then we can again go back to question and the closing ceremony formalities. But again, as I was saying, like some creative approaches, internationally experienced professional use this term, customize your experience range based on the requirement of the jobs, as we discussed, like write more than 5 years or more than 10 years. Again, use some platforms like Career Edge, which gives you paid internship. Upwork and Freelancer are some platforms where everyone can work remotely. So there are projects and you can get your profile on these platforms and you can work remotely on some of the relevant fields areas. Some networking opportunities around 1,000 coffees, masterclass, and a lot of other stuff that you can leverage. Professional association memberships, HRPA. And again, when I was in Ontario, HRPA membership, I always used to write this in my LinkedIn profile that CHRP or CHRL candidate. So that shows an interest to the potential employer saying, okay, I'm trying to pursue something in my field and I'm trying to learn new things. Again, mentoring and Eventbrite, there are different free and public seminars or workshops available. To try to go to this workshop and network with people. And again, connect with people using their special interests. So once you click on somebody's LinkedIn profile, look at what they are volunteering. So a lot of time they are volunteering as like soccer coach, or they are volunteering with like some of the uh, pet agencies or adoption centers. So develop an interest in those things and make connect with those folks on those grounds, and practice some enthusiasm, like words like absolutely instead of yes. So if somebody calls you, are you available to have a discussion tomorrow? So instead of saying yes, I can have a discussion, you can say, oh, absolutely, I'll be excited to have this discussion tomorrow. So some of these things, networking, we try to mention this, so some bridging program, professional network, information interviews. So do your research around information interviews. This is a good technique. You're not asking for a job, but you are just trying to meet somebody and have a conversation about the organization that they work with, culture, what they are up to. Try to look for volunteering, job fairs. And again, job fairs, like my experience has been, it's mostly for labor jobs, but you never know, you can connect with some of the recruiters there. So don't be ashamed of going to the job fairs, and then prepare for your elevated speech. I don't need to talk to you about elevated speech, but just imagine I introducing myself as Mehul Pandya, and then I'm saying something differently. For example, I say, I work with business leaders on helping them to understand the importance of people, processes, and skills. I work with them on educating that organizational structure is not the solution to everything. I'm trying to work with business leaders on helping them realign their organizational structure. This makes more sense, makes more connection, because it's different than the usual conversation. So prepare your elevator speech. And yeah, that's pretty much what I had to share. These are like some high level things that I've learned in my 3 years of experience. It's not that I've been learning, looking for job every day, but um, again, never let your guards down. So even if you are in job, never stop networking. Always try to keep in touch with people so that you can always use them for relevant time. So just imagining you talk to somebody 3 years back and now you are out of job and you want to reach out to that person again. So we all know like how everyone will feel about it. Instead, like every Christmas or every New Year, just drop in a saying, okay, how hope you're doing good. Just wanted to wish you hi and staying in touch. So it takes us a couple of minutes. So always do continuous networking, be in touch with people, and hope this helps you. Any questions, Mazina? I'm done my talking.
We are almost done with the questions. Yes. So thank you so much, Mehul, for a wonderful presentation, very helpful tips, and thank you for sharing your um, professional journey with the participants and all these helpful and very useful tips. And I will encourage all the participants to make their notes and use these tips uh, because it's coming out of a professional who was uh, an immigrant like yourself just few years ago, and now he's a very successful HR specialist, senior professional. So why not? Of course, everyone will get a chance. So make sure that you use these tips, and any questions you may have, you can still email it to. You can email it to me, and I will email it to Mehul. And we have a lineup of guest speakers. I have another guest speaker coming up tomorrow. He's also an HR professional. So if anybody wants to join that session, they can just email me back. And in August, in the month of August, we have 10 guest speakers coming from different walk of lives and professions. And they are managers from marketing, from finance, from HR, from banking. So just let me know, email me back, and I will register you for those sessions. And Mehul will be back again, hopefully, as a guest speaker and as a mentor also for our speed mentoring session. So keep in touch and keep just looking at our different emails from different consultants, from speed mentoring team. and I hope you will enjoy all those sessions. So just a little bit more as a closing thing for our session. Access Employment is a leader in connecting employers with qualified employees, and you have just seen Mehul. From diverse background, more than 35,000 job seekers are served every year at our 7 locations across GTA. So we have online services, and I will suggest and encourage all of you to check our website, accessemployment.ca and accessemployment.ca online event series, Access Employment, eaccessemployment.org, and Talk English Cafe, where you can learn the business communication, and you can enhance on your day-to-day communication skills in a Canadian way. So next, thank you again for everyone for your participation. You can connect with Access on different social handles. These are Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And don't forget to send our feedback. And again, thank you again, everyone. Mehul, thank you so much.
No, everyone. Thanks for having me. And it's just about sharing the experience. Hang in there, folks. I'm sure things will work out. And I'm sure Access is doing great work. And again, Access will probably not give you the job directly, but it will just prepare you for the better equipped to find the right role. So this is all what we do. We try to help everyone. Hang in there. It's a good place to be in. So yeah, good luck to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Nice having you, all of you.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Take care. Enjoy your day.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.